In this video, we are going to show you all the pros and cons and what goes wrong and the risks involved with these little nuggets.
And we're going to explain why this might be one of Honda's biggest mistakes.
Now, if you're new to ReDriven, we review used cars and offer you car buying advice, so hopefully you don't waste a bunch of your money buying an absolute lemon. Also, ReDriven is powered by WiperTech. More on those guys later. And we're going to tell you how you can get a set of WiperTech wiper blades completely for free. But for the fit, or the jazz, depending on where you're watching this from, how about we start with the good news first, and that means driving it. No matter what the generation, of which there have been 3 before this, they've always been such cracking little cars to drive. However, with imported models of this generation, they come exclusively with a hybrid engine and a CVT, so surely that has sucked all the fun out of it, right? Well, no. These things respond like an EV down low, so they feel genuinely fun, like kind of quick. And then through and out of a corner, it's great. It still revs hard like a Honda should, but then you've got that little EV torque in there. It's hilarious. Also, I thought the steering would feel like just numb and gross like so many new cars, but this, it's just fun. And especially in sport mode. When you're like flicking into eco or normal, yeah, fine, but yeah, let's go sport mode again. Here we go, sport mode. Instantly smile. But don't think for a second it's some, hyper-focused performance car. It certainly isn't. It doesn't compromise comfort for the fun factor. Actually, the big thing that has really shocked me about driving this is just how refined it really feels. The previous generations always had loads of road noise and the cabins could be little echo chambers, but in this, no, obviously there's still a bit of road noise there, and on the freeway it can get a little bit noisy in terms of wind noise, but for a car in this class, it's genuinely really refined. Even the ride quality, these are shit roads, but it just feels so sorted. It feels confident on the road at all times. It's still nice and darty and nimble, but when you want to kind of relax, it just soaks up the bumps with ease. Plus the turning circle is still really tight, and thanks to the wheels being out in the corners of the car, maneuverability is an absolute breeze. Parking it, piece of piss. And then we've had these redesigned A-pillars. It kind of feels like you're driving a car with a roll cage. In the previous generations, these are quite thick, but with these, they're so much thinner, and it has exceptional forward visibility. Outstanding change, Honda. Basically, this thing offers the perfect balance between just easy to live with, but then a bit of fun when you want it. Also, with loads of cars that have regen braking, the brake pedal feel can be bloody horrible, but with this, it just gives you confidence. It feels like a normal brake to use. Also, I feel dirty saying this, but the CVT really matches nicely to this hybrid powertrain. Don't go screaming at me in the comments just yet, okay? It actually does work. It would be lovely if it was a manual or a dual clutch or something like that, but for what this car is, when you're in eco mode, it's just completely effortless to use. Although the problem that you might find with the CVT is that these things have a shockingly bad reputation when it comes to long-term reliability. Is that going to be an issue with this generation fit? I can't tell you because I'm not a qualified mechanic. You know who is though? Jim.
In these cars, absolutely not. They are very reliable.
And more good news, despite packaging all the hybrid and battery tech under here, the boot space is still the best in its class. Actually, especially with the seats down, thanks to the wonderful Honda Magic seats. Look how much space you have back here. This actually has more cargo carrying capabilities than plenty of larger SUVs. And the same goes for space in the second row. I'm exactly 4 centimeters taller than the very fit Ryan Gosling, who happened to play Jazz in the movie La La Land. See what we did there? Very clever, I know. Anyway, this is in my driving position, and cop the amount of space I have back here. Loads of knee room, copious amounts of foot room. Even the vibe back here, it feels airy and spacious. Now, how the hell did Honda do this? Because we feature plenty of other cars and SUVs much larger than this, asking more money than this, and they feel cramped in the back seat. Yet back here, I could spend hours back here on a road trip and not get tired. It's brilliant. And then as far as features and practicality, 2 USB-C ports in the back. Again, there are SUVs and other cars asking way more money than these that don't have that. You have these awesome little pockets on the back. You know what these are for? Your phone. Genius, Honda. Absolute genius. Not only that, it has door bins that you can actually get to when the door's shut and you happen to have legs. This is going to collect all sorts of filth. That's totally fine. That's about it for features and practicality. But considering the size and the cost of the car, brilliant. Oh, also, the other end of the magic seats, which means you can pop these up and have all this space or walk through the entire car. Absolutely brilliant. And up front, these seats are such a massive improvement over the previous generation cars. In fact, some of the biggest complaints we found with those previous gens were regarding the front seat comfort, but in these, no. Absolutely spot on. They're actually a little bit supportive too, like a little bit sporty, but then you never get like a numb bum over a long trip. But the most impressive thing is they finally now go low enough. We've always found in the other generations, you always feel like you're sitting on a fit rather than in it, but in this, you kind of get nice and hunkered down. I wish you could feel how great these seats and the seating position is. And the overall materials used, another massive improvement here. This is an RS, so it's one of the higher specs. There's this and the Lux that are the top spec ones. But even in the lower spec cars, the lower specs feel a higher quality, more premium than the higher specs of the previous generations. Does that make sense? I'm sure it does. Don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of hard plastics everywhere, but the textures they've used, they feel a bit more premium than what you're expecting. Like this is soft touch, this is soft touch, the steering wheel feels great. Actually, everything you touch and use on a daily basis feels premium. Now in this, there is a lot of gloss black plastic going on and it will scratch and look a bit shit in no time. But in the lower specs, rather than going gloss black, they've kind of gone with like a gloss kind of off-white color, which A, looks really, really cool. But then also, you can't see the scratches. It wears beautifully. Plus, no surprise for a fit, practicality up here is outstanding. So you've got storage under here, little shelf. You've got a decent sized glove box considering the size of the car. You've got a spot for your phone just here. A couple of USB ports and a power outlet. 2 cup holders down here of different sizes. You've got more cup holders up here. The only negatives with these cup holders, they're a little bit too large to hold one of my... They're a little bit too large to hold one of my small pretentious coffees, like an espresso with a dash of oat milk. That's a little bit annoying, but they're decent. More storage under here. Okay sized door bins. They don't hold really large water bottles, but you'll get around that. There's nothing under there, nothing under the seats. But yeah, typical. Oh no, more storage under here. That's just going to collect all kinds of filth and crap from your life. But practicality up front, really good. I'm always surprised that we've featured SUVs that are they feel twice the size of this and they have less practicality in the front end of the cabin than one of these do. How does that even happen? But we do have some bad news. The infotainment system, because this is a Japanese import car, as you can see, there's a lot of Japanese text going on. Depending on the model, this is often locked to Japanese. There is no English conversion for it from the factory. And the same can go for the driver's display. Thankfully, both screens are completely intuitive, so you hopefully won't need English, and you've got Google Translate anyway if you do really get stuck. And also with the infotainment system, chances are you're just going to plug in Apple CarPlay or Android Auto and use that instead of the native system, so you'll get around it okay. But swapping this out and upgrading it for an infotainment system that has the latest in Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and is in English is totally possible. It's actually even more possible in the lower spec models of these because they just come with like the old school kind of single DIN infotainment system. But if you have any questions about upgrading this stuff or maybe upgrading speakers or adding sound deadening or a rear view camera or parking sensors, any of that kind of stuff, we teamed up with our mates from Automotive Superstore to make sort of the ultimate guide video, and it should answer all of your questions. We've added the link for that video down below. Also, scan that QR code or hit the link down below, type in your rego, and the Automotive Superstore site will sort through their hundreds of thousands of parts and accessories to show you what's going to be best suited to your car. Plus, they ship Australia-wide, and everything is covered by a full manufacturer's warranty. For example, they carry a huge range of off-roading accessories, which might come in very handy if you buy one of the full drive fit Crossstars and you want to go accessorizing it so it looks as cool as this. And yeah, that's right, there's a four-wheel drive Honda Fit. Epic, I know, right? But even in just standard form, I love the way these things look. It's just sort of clean and minimal. It's like the Fit, or the Jazz, has become quite sophisticated. I especially love the front end and the tail lights. No, actually overall, I just love the whole thing. I also love what these cost. Currently here in Australia, pricing kicks off from around about $17,000, tops out at about $28,000, but that's going to be generally cheaper than an equivalent Toyota Yaris hybrid. Yet these have far more interior space. I think they're more refined, more enjoyable to drive. They're just as efficient. And I think these just look cooler. Although, at least with the Yaris, you'll have the after-sale support of Toyota, because thanks to these being available as an import only, Honda Australia wants nothing to do with them. Actually, imported cars do raise a few questions, like how do you get spare parts? Is there any kind of warranty? Is the whole thing just way too much of a risk? Well, there's no need to fret, because we teamed up with local importer Colton Classic to make the ultimate import car guide video. It's going to answer all your questions. The link for it is down below. But look, overall, as long as the car has been imported by a reputable importer, there's not really any more risk with importing a used car than there is buying a locally available used car. Even when it comes to getting parts, we're finding that plenty of locally delivered cars from established brands are experiencing delays in getting certain spare parts. Often, for imports like these, you can get parts out of Japan faster and cheaper and easier than with the locally delivered stuff. Take simple consumables like the wiper blades. Plenty of brands here in Australia will charge ridiculous premiums for such a simple thing. Don't fall for that trap. Instead, scan that QR code or hit the link below to get 15% off and free express shipping on the only wiper blades we use, because they are simply some of the best. And remember how we said you can get some for free? Well, there are two ways of doing that. Number one, do what Justin has done with this Honda Fit and lend us your car to feature. If we film it, we're going to give you a set for free as a thank you present. And secondly, on ReDriven.com, you can now submit a review of your very own car. And if we publish it, we're also going to give you a set of WiperTech blades for free. But look, it can't all be good news for these things. What goes wrong with them? What are the common complaints? Well, in terms of driving, yeah, not much. We found a couple of complaints about the wind noise can be a little excessive at freeway speeds. We mentioned that before, but besides that, really no other complaints about the driving experience. Honestly, owners generally adore how these drive, even in terms of just fuel consumption. Plus, there's no range anxiety because it's a hybrid, unlike you might find if it was an EV. As for the exterior, what goes wrong? Nothing, really. Sorry. I mean, look, one owner did mention that if it absolutely buckets down with rain and the drainage channels on the bottom of the doors have maybe clogged with debris, water can build up in there and eventually that might turn into corrosion and sort of rust out. Although in saying that, we couldn't find any reports of this actually happening, so it's incredibly rare. You're not going to have a problem. And then as for the interior, yeah. Look, we've already covered the Japanese-only text for the screens. There's that, but that's easy to get around. If you don't drive the car very often, the 12-volt battery can drain, and that can cause a few little electronic gremlins, but that's not like an exclusive thing to this car. That's pretty much all modern cars.
Absolutely unreal. Okay, so we've just hit the road in the GT4 RS. So I'm going to pre-warn you now, it's going to get loud in here, and yeah, if when we edit this you can't hear anything I'm saying, we'll put some subtitles down or something because it is unbelievable. So let's start off with the basics. What are we working with here? So I mentioned earlier that this uses the engine out of the 911 GT3. It's just been turned, but it is the same engine. It is a 4-litre naturally aspirated 6-cylinder petrol engine. It makes 368 kilowatts of power and 450 newton meters of torque, and that's all mated to a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. Now, there is something I love about this setup. If I come to a full stop, you'll make sure stop starts off because no one wants that. If I come to a full stop and I roll out of the brake, it doesn't move anywhere. If I roll onto the throttle, it moves off like a torque converter. So I don't know what kind of magic they weave at Porsche, but whatever they do with dual clutches is incredible, because this is exactly how a dual clutch should be. It shouldn't be fussy and annoying, and it should just be smooth. So I don't know why you need to spend $300,000 to get a smooth dual clutch, but Porsche has absolutely nailed it here. Now, what about your fuel consumption? I know that it is highly irrelevant in a car like this, but Porsche claims a figure of just under 13 litres per 100 Ks. We are currently sitting on 12.5. which is unreal. So that was highway drive here and 3 hot laps of the circuit. It is incredible how little fuel that is. Like, I would expect that to be in the 20s given how colossally quick this is. So yeah, pretty impressive figure there. Just on that screen as well is really cool. So you've got your sport chrono clock there. You've also got gear change, G-force, like this as well. So this is basically the torque curve for the engine. So as I apply more throttle, right now we're at 2000 RPM, I'll apply more throttle, we reach peak torque, and then as more RPMs come on, it starts climbing that torque curve, which is pretty unreal. So now, The other thing I want to mention now as well is the red line. It has a 9,000 RPM red line. So when we go for our faster drive, I'm going to just be quiet and let you guys listen to this for a lap so you can experience that. But 9,000 RPM in a road car is virtually unheard of. To have 9,000 RPM literally 15 centimeters from your head is just something else altogether. So we'll have a little look at that as we go. What is it like to live with as a daily? Look, it is okay. It's not as bad as stuff like Aventador, for example. That is really hard to navigate and park and that sort of day-to-day stuff. This, on the other hand, is actually pretty straightforward. You can see clearly down the front there, or you can see the edges of the car. You do have to watch that lip, because if you catch a curb, you'll literally rip the whole front end off the car. So you have to be very careful when you're parking up against curbs, because there are no front parking sensors there, so I always leave it all the way back just to be on the safe side. Wing mirrors are big enough so you can see down the sides. There is no blind spot monitoring, so it is a little tricky to catch stuff there, especially with that window closed in with the air vent. In terms of road noise, it is pretty noisy in here. And it's not so much the road noise. When you're doing highway speeds like 100 k's an hour, it's sitting at 3,000 RPM, because that 7-speed is sort of, the ratios are tuned that way. So you do get a lot of sort of engine noise before you hear any tyre noise. So it is worth keeping in mind, but you can just turn the volume up if you need to. And what is it like on the sine waves? I bet you've been wondering that for quite some time now. We'll bump it up to 130. So there's 130 there. As expected, it is perfectly fine. With stiff suspension like this, it is just sort of soaking it up nicely. Speaking of suspension, what I love sitting in here is I can hear the dampers actuating behind my head as well. Every time we hit a bump, you can hear that sort of noise as the damper actuates. It is such a visceral experience sitting in this car. You know everything that is happening. You know everything that's going on. It is just quite an exciting place to be seated, to be hearing all of this going on around you. Okay, so because we're testing this like every other car we test, we're going to go down our bumpy road. That's all in comfort. Let's see what this is like. This is like the worst road in Australia. Let's see how well this handles it at 90 k's an hour. Gee, so far so good. It's actually surprisingly good. Okay, I've got our condensed sine wave here. Oh, that is unreal. It is just falling into every one of those divots. Wow, this is unreal. To think that they can engineer a car that is as comfortable as it is across here is seriously, seriously cool. So look, the suspension is firm. There's no getting around that. It is adaptively damped, so you go between normal and firm, or firm and firmer, but in and around town it's perfectly fine. It is actually surprisingly comfortable, despite the fact it is very much a race-focused suspension setup. When it does come to speed humps and stuff, that's where you do have to be on your best behaviour and use the lifter, because even small speed humps, I think the limit in Australia is 75 millimetres for the speed hump height. Problem with this is it's just over 100 mil in terms of height, but when you go over the speed hump, the car drops down off the speed hump and you get a little bit of compression, and you can hit the bottom of the car on a speed hump if you don't have that front lifter active. So it is worth keeping that in mind. If you are planning on buying one of these, do spend the money on the front lifter. It is well worth the investment, trust me. Now, what does it all feel like behind the wheel? So we're just here in the normal mode, and I'll keep it in that just for the moment. When you get on the throttle, it's highly responsive. 450 Newton meters doesn't sound like a huge amount, but it is a considerable amount when you look at the car's weight. So it's only around that 1,400 kilo mark with a full tank of fuel. And then in addition to that, you are talking about a car that revs all the way out to 9,000 RPM. The peak power and torque figures are insanely high as well. You're talking closer to that 9,000 RPM figure for peak power, and peak torque being around the 6,000, 7,000 RPM mark. So it is a super high number, and you certainly feel it behind the wheel. It starts really boogieing once you get up into that higher end of the rev band. But in and around the city, you have more than enough sort of poke to get in and out of little situations. There are sort of never a time where you think, oh, this is underpowered or anything like that. It really just gets up and moves. And it makes you wonder just the experience in the GT2 RS in comparison. I haven't had a chance to drive that, but that is turbocharged, and it is just like a whole nother level of craziness on top of this. And this is just insane as it is. So yeah, that is pretty cool as well. Okay, let's go for a spin here. Being an RS model, it's all pretty straightforward. You have stability control off, stability and traction control off, and that is all fully off. And you have a PDK Sport mode and an exhaust mode. So I'm going to put it into PDK Sport for our first lap with exhaust open. I'm going to let the car do all the shifting. Listen to that, that is unreal. There's no fake stuff plumbed into the cabin here. It is all absolutely genuine. All right. Now the tyres need a warm up, so I'm not going to be going too fast. This car is well beyond my driving ability, so I'm just going to drive it as, I guess, a normal punter would on a windy road and give you that feedback. So steering feel is amazing. It's so direct. You just feel everything that's going on. The brakes are fantastic as well. There is a lot of feedback through the pedal, and you really just don't feel at any point like the car's not going to pull up in time. Even over the tram tracks at the back here, it's still really sure of itself. Part of this track has been resurfaced up the back here, so I'm going to have to go a little gentler here to what I would normally do, but let's give it a little stab on the back straight. We'll see how it goes. I'll roll into this now. Oh my God, that noise is insane. Absolutely insane. Holy crap, it is like right behind your head. You hear everything that's going on. It is just unbelievable. Like, manufacturers can make cars as fast as they want. This is simply a visceral experience. I am just at one with the car here, and the noises that it's making are just absolutely next level. If you love your cars, you cannot beat this noise. Like, it is just on another level altogether. And you know what we might actually do now that I think of it? I'm going to pull over and we're going to do this properly. I'm going to fit my racing harness. Let's head out for another lap on the track. Okay, so we're properly belted in. I'm going to put it into hard suspension mode now as well. I'll do some, oh, that noise is just insane. The tyres are a little warmer now. All right, I'm going to be quiet and just let you listen to the car. That was unreal. That was so cool. Oh man. I've driven a lot of cars, but this is just like, I can't even describe how this is making me feel right now. Can you imagine the day when EVs are driving around the place and, you know, everyone's going fast in a straight line, all that sort of stuff, and then someone has one of these in their garage at home? Like, yeah, I think that says everything you need to know. Okay, time to do a little bit of performance testing. Excited for this. So, yeah, it has unfortunately been raining here a little bit, so I don't know how well we're going to go with hooking up here, but give it a shot anyway. We have to pick a different line because our normal one has water in it. So it has a claim. We're going to go through to 120 k's an hour, so I can see our overtaking times as well. And we'll come back and do a break as well. So here we go. Oh, that sounds so good. wish you could be here in the car with me listening to that sound. It is seriously ridiculous. Oh man, all right, let's have a little look there. I don't even care how fast this is because that is so much fun. So yeah, 3.67 seconds. Typically with a Porsche, you will beat their time, but because it is wet out there, just otherworldly. That is so cool. All right, time to do our break from 100 k's an hour. Definitely don't need much room to get it to 100. Get just over 100 and I'll slam the anchors down. So here we go. Okay, let's have a little look at that. Oh, again, it was wet, so I don't know how good that's going to be. Still really impressed with that figure for what it is. And now, our reverse test. If you do want to see how the GT4 RS compares to other cars that we've tested before in terms of any of those performance stats, have a look at the link in the description below and you can see how it goes against other cars. Okay, so last thing I wanted to show you here is just what happens if you switch everything off. So you just push and hold ESC plus traction off and everything is properly off. My skill level is nowhere near what you need to be able to drift this car, but I'm just gonna do a very basic first gear into second gear, power slide here, just so we can see what it feels like. Remembering this is mid-engine, so it'll be interesting to see how this goes. It's actually surprisingly controllable there. Okay, we might try second gear here. Just curious to see how this goes. Anyway, yeah, that's going to require a whole lot of skill that I absolutely don't have. But moral of the story here is this car is seriously unreal. And I love the fact that if you are skilled enough to be able to do crazy stuff in this, you just push and hold that button. There is no drift mode, no sort of special hand-holding stuff. You just do that and away you go. Rest of the time, you don't need any of these fancy drive modes because it has just so much mechanical grip that if you exceed that, no electronic systems are ever going to be able to save you. Okay, so...
and it's a bit annoying that there's no spare wheel under here because of all the hybrid gubbins and whatnot. But that's honestly about it for interior complaints and issues. But what about under here? Surely something goes wrong with this thing, right? Jim?
Mate, sorry, no. Now, to give you some perspective about how good these are, normally when I do these, I research and I write pages and pages of information to accurately give it to the viewer. But with this car, it's pretty much one line. Basically, about the only reported documented problem with these is an issue with the brake-by-wire pedal simulator. It's all covered by warranty and it's not even that common. In terms of engine and transmission reliability, these things are outstandingly good. Now, I know these are relatively new, but I'm pretty sure they're going to continue the Honda Jazz and Fit's reputation of outstanding reliability for years to come. Now, a fun fact about the car we've filmed, that was actually bought by some customers of mine, Tony and Donna, shout out to them. And I'm sure I'm only ever going to see that car for a service and I'm extremely unlikely to have to fix anything.
But if these things are so bloody good, how is it that they're one of Honda's biggest mistakes? It's simply because Honda Australia never officially brought them here. They never went officially to the United States either. But the reason for that might actually be your fault. It's just so frustrating that new car buying trends show that there's more of a market for oversized SUVs than space efficient, fun to drive, affordable to own, and just cool little nuggets like the Honda Fit. And after experiencing this awesome little car, we just find it so disappointing that more of you are gonna miss out on one of these. Which is why, if you can buy one, you should buy one. As long as it passes a full pre-purchase inspection and you get it through a reputable importer like Colton Classic. If it checks out with all that kind of stuff, yeah, buy one, they're bloody awesome. But then again, some of the older ones. But we do have some bad news. I've gone blank. Nothing goes wrong with
Cal could put in a cricket sound.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could just sit here like crickets.
Surely something goes wrong with this thing, right? Jim?